Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated, right there, black and gold and silver. So welcome to Tuesday Facebook Live, In the Flow. This Facebook Live originally started off in 1998 as an afternoon call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesdays. Then within a year, I moved it to Tuesday nights at 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern. And for 18 years, it was the More Heart Than Talent Mindset Call. Many of you were on that mindset call. That was a dial-in call from 1999 to 2018. I know that Vicki Lee and Matt Smith, you were on the old More Heart Than Talent Mindset call, as was you, Colleen. So I'm just going over the history of when this call started. It was actually an afternoon workshop specifically for prospecting when I started it in 1998 and 1999. And I lived 4 blocks away right over there on 208 West North Street. And so I'm now doing my lives from 989 Oxford Way, where I've lived for the last 23 years. So the topic today is In the Flow, ITF, prosperity, prospero, to be in the flow. And many of you are absolutely in the flow. I know I coached Vicki Lee Tuesday. Or Monday morning, she is absolutely in the flow. And I coached you, Colleen, last Wednesday. You were in the flow and a very high level of crushing it. So good to have you here on today's Facebook Live. Matt Smith, good to see you this afternoon. Where are you today, Matt? Are you traveling across the United States? So this is the Tuesday GMS Podcast. So it's my honor to be here with you. But for the first 18 years, it was called the More Heart Than Talent Mindset Call. And I used to have as many as 500 people on that call. I interviewed Jim Rohn, Mark Victor Hansen, Joe Dispenza, Ron White, World Champion of Memory, Dr. Judith Orloff, Susan Sly, multiple people of influence and affluence over that first 18 plus year span of my career, actually 19. So I'm going to go ahead and move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. So to be in the flow is in alignment. It means that situations in your life are lining up for you. It means the soulmate, the teammate, the job, the real estate property. It means that there's a different level of energy that's happening in your flow. And the term you may have heard other people say this, and it's happening to you now, is they are showing up. And that means the real estate opportunities, the people of influence and affluence, the situations that you've been looking for, the dream vacation. You get a check in the mail from the Internal Revenue Service that you don't expect, and your accountant doesn't even understand this. This actually happened to me in 2019. I received a check from the IRS, and that would be from the United States Treasury. That's who the check came from, for $10,734. To this day, my accountant is not understanding of how that happened, because I was not expecting I did not overpay, and any overpayment goes to the next quarter on taxes. So I never get a check from the IRS. But once again, this is one of those alignment God situations. And it was just amazing how that happened. And that happens to me frequently. They show up. 5 leads showed up yesterday organically, and another one showed up today through referrals. I mean, that is alignment. So in alignment, the term is also manifest. So if you know what manifest destiny is, or the manifest of a ship, I mean, it's the record. So the Akashic records is another place. Then there's the quantum field. The morphinogenic energy is the field of energy that you're transmuting from. And that context, and then the content of what you're sending and what you're feeling. Now, we are under an extreme attack as Christians. We are in a very, very unique time in history. You are witnessing it, you're watching it. Some of you may have watched RFK and Joe Rogan. You may have seen other content going on in the world today. You're watching what is called trauma-based mind control. And it virtually is a movie inside of a matrix. And you get to choose which pill that you are swallowing, the red pill or the blue pill. And many people are intoxicated with what's going on, while there are other people who are enlightened by what's going on. Many people are worried about what's going on. Many people are at peace with what's going on. I'm at peace with it. It doesn't mean that I'm not concerned, but I have a very good understanding of what I believe in the flow of all of it, what is going on behind the veil. I've been studying the content since 1979. I had hoped that in my lifetime I wouldn't see what I see now, but we're at a place where it's bring it on. So in bring it on, that means that you don't want to be in any state of anxiety, fear, or doubt, because your enemy wants you to worry. And when you're worried, you're going to give your power away. When you're worried, you will be in force. When you're worried about the outcome that hasn't happened and regret of the past of what you've done, then you're going to be in an overwhelmed state. When you're in a very relaxed energy, when you are in a place called power, you're not exhibiting or exuding any anxiety based on force. Force is what creates procrastination. Force creates bad decisions. In force, you will miss opportunities that avail themselves, avail meaning that are available, that are right there, that you have attracted on command. Many people are not able to see the forest for the trees. Many people don't see an opportunity when it's there. They're too skeptical. They talk themselves out of these situations. How many of you have presented a value proposition, a product, a service, or benefit, or feature to one of your parents or one of your relatives or someone that you grew up with, and you were under the assumption that they would buy it or see it or receive it, and then your feelings were hurt or you were disappointed and you can't believe it and it doesn't make sense and they should. And you watch these people, you presented a value proposition, you laid it out for them. And all this is products and services that are going to enhance their life. But they pass on it because they're skeptical. And so they are not in the flow, they are in the resistance. And that is a large percent of society. And so then in the head swiveling world that you're in today, it's challenging to tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are and who's on first and who's on third base. And this requires letting go to really be in the flow, to see the situation for what it is, so that it doesn't matter who the bad guys are, because you know that you're in alignment with God and you're in alignment with your manifest, and you're manifesting your own reality. And when you live in that space, then you're in complete command and you're in the flow. Because you can't control any outcome, and just like I can't control the future, but who I can be right now is I can be my best self. And in that, then I don't have anyone to worry about, because nothing has happened. We spend so much time occupying space, worrying about events that haven't happened. We get so worked up and so overwhelmed about the possibility of, about the divorce, about the lawsuit, about the government, about the mandates, about calling someone, picking up a telephone, hitting the send button, writing the content, letting go. The world spends so much time occupied in anxiety, fear, and doubt, and not enough time in consciousness, love, joy, and bliss, and in the flow. When you are in that state, there's a different energy that transmutes from you. That energy that you're transmuting is called consciousness. Consciousness is I understand, I know, I'm aware. And in that space, you're not in this doesn't make sense, I don't understand, why don't they buy? In that state of consciousness, you're able to easily and effortlessly let people and situations go, because in prosperity, you are not attached. You are not dragging around the 10-foot grandfather clock that your family wants you to drag around, that wants you to suffer and struggle and be a noble struggler. You're no longer the rescuer of your family. You're no longer the nurse Florence Nightingale. You're no longer the therapist. You're no longer the driver. You're able to let go. You're able to let people be where they are, free of duty, guilt, and obligation, so that you can live your best life, free of this guilt and then the shame that you've held on to. And in that state of high consciousness, you're able to easily and effortlessly let go, which then allows you to be in the flow. And these toxic relationships that you find yourself addicted to, these toxic relationships that you continue to attract so you can rescue someone else, these toxic relationships and these teammates and soulmates and these other lost leaders and lost souls that you keep attracting and rescuing no longer have the same significance because you're in the flow. Those are the people that keep you in force and resistance. When you have been groomed, trauma-based mind controlled, when you have been gaslighted into believing these narcissists that have conditioned you to give away your power, when you stop dating, mating, marrying, attracting these people to your teams and influence, then you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape your feelings. Then you can be in a place where other people's feelings are not your responsibility. But when you feel responsible for other people's feelings, you will over-obligate yourself, do too much, find yourself in precarious situations over and over, wondering, how the fuck did I get here? Well, you got there by holding on to a set of feelings that are unresolved. And so that keeps you in a state called force. When you have a better understanding of the separation between force and a counterforce, and you begin to live in the flow and in the power and in the present, then you are no longer the trauma bonds. You are no longer addicted to a set of feelings. You no longer feel responsible for being a caretaker of other people's well-beings. And then this will have a significant impact on the who and what. Who and what you attract. And as you move into that state of being much more frequently, then you're going to be in this state right here. It's called honesty and truth. So David Hawkins wrote a great book called Truth versus Falsehood. So when you're in truth, you're in absolute know. When you're in truth, you're in certainty. When you're certain, you know. And so then you're not wondering and worrying and occupying space and anxiety, fear and doubt, especially doubt. Doubt is a space, a parking spot that many people park in. They park it in the parking space of doubt, and then they put the quarters in it, and they just keep filling that machine. And they stay there because that parking space of doubt is safe. And it also, that parking space says the payoff. And so it's those two words, the payoff. The doubt parking spot's the payoff, where you don't have to be responsible. It will keep you in force, underachieving, under-earning. It'll keep you occupying a lot of space in wonderment and worry and trying to figure it out. It'll keep you from attracting the job, the career opportunity, the business that you could absolutely crush. It will keep you mating, dating, and attracting the same people over and over. Or you'll just avoid dating in general or prospecting in general because you're not good enough. And then if you're not good enough, now you have full permission to be safe in the payoff of low self-esteem. And that is where a large percent of the population lives. And if you have lived there far too long and the pain is great enough, then you are in the right place at the right time. Now that means the only variable left is for you to recognize it. And if you recognize that and you're fully honest in the truth of it, then you can begin to let go of this right here, resentment. So when you're brilliant and you're under-earning and underachieving, when you have rock star capabilities, when you have superstar ability, when you have brilliance within you and you continue to underachieve and under-earn, and then you continue to have no money and no assets, and you find yourself in debt, making excuses over and over. I'm going to buy, I'm going to hire you, I'm going to do this at the end of the month, I'm going to do this at the end of the year, I'm going to move out of this apartment, I'm going to get a new car, I'm going to start a new business, I'm going to produce. What you're really living in is resentment. So the honesty and the truth of it is you have all this ability. The resentment is you lived a life of underachieving and under-earning. It's the greatest lie you tell yourself, that you are not good enough. And then if you move this step right here, you master the skill of letting go. Now that is true mastery, because that is prosperity. As you begin to master the skill of letting go, you're virtually in the separation between the feelings. So in that state of letting go, you're able to feel a feeling, and you're aware enough of it that you feel that feeling, that relapsing isn't an option, because there's no more cheat days. You are so clear, and you're in so much truth and so much honesty that you trust yourself not to relapse. You don't require it because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. The ego goes like this and snaps. It goes, go to the liquor store, get a bottle of vodka. The ego snaps and goes, go to the refrigerator, get a piece of cheesecake. The ego snaps and goes, you have a candy bar stashed in a purse. It's in the closet. The ego snaps and goes, I'm going to go to pornography. I remember that. I remember that channel. I have it hidden and saved. No one can find it. The ego snaps and you go, I'm going to go to a casino. I'm just going to drop $100. I'm only going to invest $100 today. The ego snaps and you reach out with someone you know you can flirt with. I mean, but when you're in the flow, first of all, you don't even have these feelings, because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. This is very challenging to articulate to people who don't live it, because the people who do live it don't relapse. And we don't relapse because we know the pleasure isn't worth the pain. And this baffles people. They go, yeah, but didn't you used to drink a gallon of vodka a day? Didn't you used to be a player? Didn't you used to gamble? Weren't you out there 7 nights a week? And those are all facts for me, but that's not who I am today. I'm at peace with those things I did and resolve the shame I held on to. That is the letting go process. That's stating the facts while being able to separate yourself from them. You can own the facts without the facts owning you anymore. That is called recovery. And when you begin to live in that recovery one day at a time, you are not the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. You may have been born on the wrong side of the tracks and had men and women going out of your household, or you grew up with a narcissistic, passive-aggressive father or mother. Those are the facts. You may not have graduated from college, and those are the facts. But in the present, those facts don't really matter unless you continue to give it power. And so when you give that energy power, that energy owns you, and that energy is called force. And when you're in that force, then you'll avoid procrastinate. You'll tell yourself stories. You know how good you are, but you can't really muster up the courage to let go. And then you'll recreate the same situation to fulfill the feelings of being an emotional addict. You will hold on to the same set of feelings, recreate the same circumstances, and rather than live in flow, you are in resistance. And then you are angry a lot. You're resentful, disappointed, frustrated, can't get off the mat, the launching pad, and you keep recreating the same situation over and over. And if you're entangled in legal situations with an ex-spouse or ex-lover, or these situations, or these people, or a boss, and you keep just recirculating the same situation, you have to learn how to let go, because you can't control this outcome. You have to be able to let go and let God in this situation. And when you're able to do that, when you focus on results, the solution, the rest will work itself out in due time. And when you focus on who you can be and what you can do one day at a time, that is what compounds. That is what you begin to improve on. And then this is what will happen. It's happened to me many times. It will happen to you. A check will show up in the mail. Someone will absolutely join your team, and then they will bring like 60 people in your business overnight, and you're like, what the it's like WTF. It happened to me when I was in Herbalife in 1991. I ran an ad in the Oakland Tribune. This 21-year-old guy comes to the event that night, that on a Thursday night in October. He's 21 years old, and he brings his girlfriend who's 19. The very next day, they come back to my office, and they have a credit card, and they both get started for $3,000 each. This was back in a different era of network marketing. They both get started. And in 60 days, I had 60 new teammates from this 21-year-old and this 19-year-old. That is how this happens. This happens by synchronicity. It's called alignment, manifestation, no accidents, God winking. It's a quantum physics situation. It's called in the flow. It's called prosperity. But it doesn't happen when you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt. It happens when you let go. It happens when they show up. It happens when you leave a toxic situation and move to a more enlightening situation. But if you move from a toxic situation to a toxic situation, you are not getting the lesson. You're continuing to recreate the same situation to fulfill the same feelings so you can live in the payoff. When you let go of your family who are toxic, when you let go of your job that is toxic, when you let go of a business that's toxic and you move into higher consciousness and you stay in that consciousness, you are destined, you are determined, you are committed, you will not be denied. That's when the energy changes. And instead of that force, you move into inspiration. And that inspiration is the fire that burns. And people feel that in you because a different level of charisma begins to transmute. That charisma from love and joy and God and Christ begins to come out of you rather than anxiety, fear and doubt and resentment and rejection and abandonment and being angry and being resentful in these other situations that we hold on to fulfill our feelings because we are not good enough. And when you let go, you are no longer that mind-body connection to that child born on the wrong side of the tracks. You are no longer the mind-body connection to the child who is traumatized, singled out, picked on, born with asthma, born with eczema, born with these medical conditions that are really emotional conditions based on the events that shaped your feelings. When you let go of denial and deny yourself your highest good, when you stop denying yourself of being the person you're capable of, then clarity begins to happen. You start to remember the past and you make peace with it. You can't make peace with the past you're in denial of. When you reject your past because you don't want to deal with it, that's how many people talk, then you can't be at peace with it. When you're at peace with your past, you're at peace with yourself. And it's in that peace that you are in the flow. My name is Jeffery Combs. I'm the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. You have an outstanding afternoon today. I'll be back here at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. To Bert, Lynn Ann, Carlene, Josh, Katie, good to see you, Bugai, Sarah, Valerie, good to see you, Valerie and Valerie, Cheryl Lynn, Colleen, Matt, who else do we have here? Tracy, good to see you, good to see all of you, Scott, Vicky Lee, thank you for being here this afternoon. It's been my honor and privilege to be here with you on Facebook Live. You have a great afternoon.